first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my family after they went no contact for 1 year? I am 23 female. My family do everything together. My family, my mom, 50 female, and dad, 50 male. My older brother and sister, 25 female and male. My older sister, 24 female, and my little brother, 21 male. My mom stayed at home with us and took care of raising us. As siblings became best friends. We were really close. When they wanted to borrow clothes or electronics, I never said no. When they needed money for something, I would give them what I had saved up. The incident. A little after I turned 22, my parents called us on Zoom for an emergency family meeting. My father looked really mad, and my mom was on the verge of tears. My little brother was sitting next to them. He still lives at home, and he explained that he couldn't find his envelope with money, around $3,000. I was really confused as to why this was an emergency, so I asked if they thought someone had stolen it. Everyone was looking really awkward and weird, looking away from the camera and not making eye contact. Finally, my older brother said that they knew I was having money problems. I was floored. I had asked my older brother for a loan a few months ago. I needed a computer, which I dropped because I got a computer on my birthday. I tried to explain that I needed money for a computer. My dad flipped and started screaming horrible things at me, saying he knew I stole the money because I was creeping around my little brother's room at my birthday party. Not true. I was coming out from the toilets when I bumped into my dad. Anyway, my dad said we wanted nothing to do with me, and that they were all going to go no contact until I confessed. Then they all ended a call. I tried to call, but I was blocked. I went to their house in the middle of the night in pouring rain and they wouldn't open the door. I was completely broken. My family was ready to throw me away. I tried for months to come to contact, but all I ever got was, "Are you ready to confess?" And when I said no, they would ignore me. A year later, my mom called. She asked me if I could come over for dinner. Everyone was sweet and nice. They had made my favorite meal. I sat down and started crying because I couldn't understand. My dad explained that my older brother had confessed. He had taken the money to fund a pyramid scheme he had gotten involved in. He was too embarrassed to admit and let me take the fall for it. My older brother was seated at the table, and that bothered me for some reason. I asked my family why it was so easy for them to throw me away like that, but they can't go no contact with my older brother. My dad told me to just forgive and forget, and everybody can make mistakes. I just got up and left. I blocked everyone and ignored them. Just give them a taste of their own medicine. But I can't help but feel bad. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my family after they went no contact for 1 year? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They showed you that you are disposable to them. You would be much better off making no contact a permanent idea, than spending the rest of your life walking on eggshells in case they decided to make you a scapegoat and discard you again. Good on you for blocking them. I don't think it can be said any better, really. Plus, they're just like, oops, never mind. Don't make a big deal of it. Not even admitting what an awful thing they did. Not the a-hole. If they can throw away their daughter without evidence, they don't deserve you. Yeah, I would have huge problems with this. This is such a heartbreaking situation. And to gloss over the difference in how they treated you versus him, and how your brother just throw you under the bus like that, and how your mom can just no contact for a year. When you wrote about standing in the rain, I legit wanted to cry. Your dad doesn't get to go the forgive and forget routine after destroying your family circle for a year. Not a a-hole. I'm sorry. And I'm usually one who offers grace to family, but I have a hard time seeing how you all heal and move on. I don't know if I could just come back from that like nothing happened. They obviously don't trust you at all, and to think of all the holidays and birthdays you missed because of it. Not the a-hole. What kind of parents block their kid from their life just because they suspect some wrongdoing without any proof? Even if you were guilty, they should have openly talked and helped you out of the mess. Your brother stole the money, pinned the blame on you, blocked you from the family, and is now pretending like nothing happened? And your parents don't seem to have asked you for forgiveness either, and are fine with your brother's behavior. If you don't cut them out now, you are just going to be in for more emotional manipulation in the future. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being mad my mom told her husband my dad isn't my bio dad? My mom got married 11 months ago. Right before the wedding, I, 16 female, found out my mom had told her husband that I am not my dad's bio daughter. Back when my parents first divorced 5 years ago, I asked her not to tell any future boyfriends or husbands because it's not something we broadcast, and it's not something I really want people to know. I also brought it up again when she first met her husband. I always hated people asking about my real dad and stuff. My dad is my dad. He stepped up when I was 7 months and even adopted me when I was 3 after he and my mom married, and he never treated me any different from my siblings who are his bio kids. Then I found out 2 days before their wedding that my mom had told him. He told me and my siblings about him being excited to be our new dad. I said he wasn't going to be our new dad because we already had one. Then he told me that if I could accept my dad and he could accept me, why couldn't I do the same for him and his kids? I asked what he meant, and he said it was no different than my dad not being my real dad. I was so mad. My mom told me she couldn't lie to her husband. I told her then women up and tell me she wouldn't do the one freaking thing I asked of her. Ever since, I can't even look at my mom. I barely talk to her. I feel so damn betrayed, and for it to be thrown in my face like that is the very reason I didn't want it revealed. Her husband thinks I'm being such a problem child, and he still believes him marrying my mom when I'm 15 and have a dad is the same as my dad stepping up when I'm 7 months and raising me and adopting me as soon as he could. He thinks my dad isn't my real dad, but acts like he could be. They think I'm being a brat for holding this against her and not caring anymore about our relationship. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole for feeling betrayed. A good father has nothing to do with being bio. It's being there. When you come down, you might want to explain to new husband that it's not about/against him. He might be a great stepdad, but he won't be your dad. The dad that raised you. I have no suggestion for your mom. I think she should apologize to you for breaking your trust. I don't think the mom is the a-hole here just for telling her fiancé/husband. It's also a part of her personal history, and this person is her husband, not some random boyfriend. People talk about their past relationship with spouses. It'd be super weird if that came up later in the marriage and he didn't know. Mom is an a-hole for marrying someone who would say such an awful thing to her child. It's a poor judge of character and/or a total lack of concern. Not the a-hole. Then you guys' reaction pretty much sums up why you are right to feel the way you do. There are 3 men who might conceivably claim the title, and only one qualifies. There's your sperm donor, there's the man who raised you from an infant, and there's this new guy who thinks he can just take possession of you at age 15, like signing the pink slip of a car to a new owner. Parental role by new adults in a child's life is earned, not assumed, and the fact that he believes he can just step into those shoes when you already have someone to fill them makes me think he's going to be really bad at it. I don't think your mom is an a-hole for telling him the whole picture, because as one of the responsible adults in the house, he needs to understand what he's getting into. But she is the a-hole for taking his side and for thinking you're being a brat about this. Yep, that attitude is basically going to ensure that he and Dopey never developed any kind of decent relationship, let alone the fatherly relationship the stepdad wants. The stepdad's the a-hole here, as his mom for backing him on his BS. OP is not the a-hole, but unfortunately this conflict is probably going to continue for as long as mom and stepdad are married, because stepdad doesn't seem like he's going to ever see reason in what he's doing wrong, and is going to continue to demand to be Opie's dad. What a jerk. Not the a-hole. Your mother violated your trust. If she felt this strongly, she should have talked to you before telling him. Her husband also seems to have issues, being so pushy and needy. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother-in-law out and reporting my therapist? Let me explain, even though I don't like to talk about it. I, 25 male, was involved in an auto accident. I was the one driving and lost my dad who was with me at the time. I had untreated post-traumatic stress disorder for nearly a year. I couldn't speak about it to anyone. My sister got me in therapy 2 months ago because she said that I needed it. This is our first holidays without Dad, and I wasn't intending on doing anything this year, but the family decided to come and spend time with me. My aunt, my cousin and her kids, my sister and my brother-in-law, and my mom. My brother-in-law started bringing up the accident in detail, exactly the way I describe it, like he heard it from me, and the number of sessions I've attended so far. brought up the name of my therapist and asked if he's the one I've been seeing. Then, he started asking me how I'm doing, / if my therapy sessions are benefiting me or not, / and telling the exact time I got into therapy. And then casually said that I shouldn't tell people that I feel responsibility for what happened, implying that I told my therapist that. I was taken aback. I asked how he knew all that. My sister said she didn't tell him and I didn't tell anyone. My brother-in-law looked confused when he noticed how upset I was, and said that it was a coincidence the therapist happens to be one of his friend's brother. He's known my therapist for 5 years and that's how he knew, since his friend said my name sounded familiar. I was shocked. Everyone was looking at me, and my aunt started talking about me telling everyone about the accident. I was so infuriated I found myself lashing out on my brother-in-law, and he started talking about how I need to deal my anger issues, disregarding that he told the entire family about my sessions. After arguing with him and listening to him blaming me for how I reacted, I ended up telling him to leave. My sister sided with him, then they both left. My aunt defended him and said that I shouldn't have yelled at him and hurt my sister's feelings, that he was just worried about me. I was so mad, especially when they all started guilt-tripping me and berating me for what I did. I sent my therapist an email telling him what happened after I couldn't get a hold of him, and mentioned that I will be reporting him and file a complaint against him for disclosing information without my consent. So far, I haven't heard from him, and what bothers me is that I'm not close with those people, and hearing them gossip about me like that is not okay. My brother-in-law has always been like this, but it never occurred to me that he'd do this. The family said I ruined dinner for them, and that I overreacted and was lashing out at everyone for no reason. I feel terrible. They said they gathered to comfort me and I caused a scene. Now for the top comments of this post. Not Day Hall. Your therapist definitely should be reported and hopefully lose their license. Therapists should never be sharing their clients' names, much less going into detail about what the clients are sharing with them. The people who ruined dinner are the people who decided to spend time with you, and then did not stop your brother-in-law from deciding to share what is going on with your therapy to the rest of your family. You rightfully wished that your privacy be valued, but he couldn't be bothered to show you that respect. The person who ruined dinner was your brother-in-law, and everyone who sided with him. You're right. Part of me believes he did it on purpose. This isn't the first time he gets involved in personal matters, and I'm not sure if he shared with other friends, and how long they've been gossiping about what I've experienced. Not Day Hall. I'm sorry this happened to you. You're not the jerk at all. Your therapist violated your confidentiality, and that's a very serious thing. Report them and let them suffer the consequences. Focus on your betterment, and it doesn't matter what others say. You didn't ruin Christmas. I really hope you're able to find peace someday. I know my brother-in-law. He's always disrespecting my boundaries, and to even think about him talking to people about personal stuff like that is incredibly infuriating. And they tell me that I need to control my anger. They're blaming me for how I reacted, and they still have no idea that I'm now having an issue with my therapist. Not Day Hall. Report the therapist and cut ties with your brother-in-law. If that means sister goes too, that's her fault for siding with brother-in-law. I'm hurt by what my sister did. She immediately took his side and tried to make it seem like it wasn't a big issue since this is my family, and that her husband was just worried about me. I appreciate everything she's done for me to help me out, but this hurts me a lot, and she doesn't even understand. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for being mad at my siblings? I, 24 female, have a baby boy. This was his first Christmas. 4 days ago, I got a gift for him from my sibling's mom. This woman is not someone I have communication with, and I had made it clear to my siblings I did not want her to know where I live. My siblings are 20 male and 19 female. I sent the gift back and told them they had no right to go against my wishes. They were pissed that I would return the gift. I said she was not part of my son's life or mine anymore. They told me I had no right to be mad. She's their mom, etc., and they called me a witch. The background of their mom? My parents divorced when I was an infant, and my dad married their mom and had them. He died when I was 7, and their mom wanted to keep sharing custody time with me. My mom said no, and their mom went nuclear right in front of me, claiming she was as much my mom as my actual mom was. My mom said a sibling relationship could continue, but she was not going to co-parent with her going forward. Then, their mom asked my mom to name her my guardian should something happen to my mom. My mom did not, which she found out when I was 13 after my mom died. My grandparents were named as my guardians, and again, their mom went nuclear. Only this time it was on my grandparents. I lost my cool with her the day she went nuts. She was saying evil things about my mom to my grieving parents and me. I said some equally harsh things to her, and I told her to leave me alone because I wanted nothing to do with her ever again. The relationship with my siblings was maintained via our dad's family, and I have avoided their mom ever since. She has tried to reach out through them, and I always told them I wasn't interested. Then, when they both moved out as adults, I gave them my address and stuff, and I told them never to give that info to their mom, which they did. So Reddit, tell me, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This woman sounds terrible, and your siblings are old enough that they should respect your opinions, thoughts, and feelings. Not the a-hole. I don't know how much louder you can be, when clearly that woman is too ignorant to respect the boundaries you have set for a reason. Someday, she'll get over her denial at being your replacement mom, which she never has been and never will be. Not the a-hole. It is clear you have very strong feelings concerning their mom, and you have very clearly set boundaries of no contact at all with her. You have been clear with your siblings and they crossed that boundary. They need to respect your wishes. More than likely, they do not know exactly why you want no contact. It doesn't matter, as it is your choice, and they have to either respect it or have no contact with you. The things she said to your mom and about your mom must have been devastating to you. It enraged me. She had refused to let me call my mom to come get me the day my dad died. He died while I was with them, and that was so hard. Then she goes and talks so much horrible things about my mom who had just died, and I couldn't contain it anymore. Not the a-hole. This woman's obsession with you is very disturbing. Your mother was wise to set boundaries to protect you after your father died. You have every right to decide whether or not you want a relationship with your half-sibling's mother. You have decided not to, and they acted against your wishes. This woman sounds controlling and manipulative. I actually feel sorry for your siblings. I can't imagine they had an easy childhood being raised by this person. I think at the very least, she's very needy and entitled. Either way, like you said, my mom made the right choice, and I'm glad she didn't listen to her. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.
Would I be the a-hole if I cut my parents out of my life because they hold it against me that I didn't grieve my brother the same way they did? I, 18 male, was born an identical twin, and when my brother Cam and I were 4, he was diagnosed with cancer. For the next 3.5 years, our parents devoted their lives to saving Cam. They were told after a year that his diagnosis was terminal, and there was nothing that would ever cure him, but they never gave up. They put him into a bunch of clinical trials and got second, third, fourth, and even fifth opinions. They borrowed money from everyone they could and took out loans to afford different doctors. In those years, everything was centered around what he wanted and what would make him happy, including our shared bedroom. We were given a double bunk bed where he got the double bed and I got the single top bunk. Our room was decorated with all his favorite cartoon characters. Our parents dressed us identically again in his choice of clothes when we had been allowed to pick our own. Our birthdays were his birthdays only, and even though Cam tried to include me in the last 2, he wasn't able to because our parents were determined to make the most of him. It was rough, and to be honest, it was lonely back then. I loved my brother, and he loved me. I never hated him. But our parents would be in and out of our room all night checking on him and ignoring me. They'd wake me up when they had to give Cam meds or wanted to monitor his blood pressure or temperature. And if I stirred or asked what was going on, they ignored it. There were days I went to school exhausted and would fall asleep in class. Then Cam died the one night we shared the bottom bunk with each other. My parents were so mad that I didn't get them when Cam wanted me during the night. They were furious with me. They accused me several times of robbing them of his final moments. After Cam died, our room became a shrine to him. It wasn't supposed to be touched or changed at all. I was kept in the single bunk, and his double part was kept in the same bedclothes as the night he died. Whenever I even looked at it too much, they would get mad at me. They'd say it was his bunk, not mine. Even 10 years later, they would say how awful I was to want to steal Cam's bed from him. The one and only time I asked if the room could be redecorated because I was older and wanted a more grown-up room, they almost unalived me, I swear. I don't know why they didn't attack me, but they moved like they would, and looked like they would. They did yell a lot, and they made several accusations, like I never loved Cam, I was trying to erase him, that I hated them, and I stomped all over their grief. It was intense. They told me I knew I liked the room being the way it always was, so I was selfish for asking to take that away from them. When I asked to move out of the room, it was another thing they held against me and hated me for. That room being my bedroom still felt so wrong. I was surrounded by Cam and suffocated by his memory, and they just saw it as me hating him. They said I needed to be in Cam's room because I was always in there and it couldn't change. I preferred to remember him on our birthday. My parents completely ignored our birthday and me that day and only wanted to remember his anniversary, and they got so upset when it wasn't my focus. This stuff, and way more, was thrown in my face all the time while I still lived there. I tried talking to others about it, who talked to my parents, and it just never changed anything. They didn't want help. They didn't want to accept that I could grieve differently than them. I went to stay with a friend's family the day before my birthday, and I haven't gone back since. I didn't block my parents either, and whenever I see them, I don't ignore that they're there. But I kind of wonder if I need to. I don't think they're good for me, and they accused me of abandoning them one of the times I saw them. I guess in a way I have, because I feel like I need to. But would I be the a-hole if I cut them out of my life because of everything? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Block them and finally live your life. Your parents are the ones who neglected and abandoned you, and because of that, they lost both of their sons. I think that will be the best long-term thing for me. Having them in my life is never going to be really that healthy. Tell them they abandoned you 14 years ago. Please, get some counseling to help you heal from their abuse. This is a horrific story. They didn't acknowledge your grief. They didn't acknowledge your needs, and they didn't acknowledge your sadness. They blamed you for everything. That is a terribly cruel thing to do to a young child. You're absolutely right to cut them off completely. It's astonishing that they would say you abandoned them when they basically abandoned you as a child. I can't tell you how sorry I am for you that this happened to you. I hope you're getting counseling to deal with it, because it has to have damaged you to grow up with that kind of treatment. Please do cut them out of your life, not the a-hole. I'm thinking they might have assumed they would always have me to take their anger out on. Now they don't. They can't scream at me for not remembering how they want me to, or for stealing his final moments from them. All they have is each other now in reality. Not the a-hole. They were awful to you and continue to be awful to you. You can't get a good childhood back, but may the rest of your life be filled with people who love and treasure you. Thank you. I'd like to have a happier life. I'd love to be able to remember my brother without drowning in his loss. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not siding with my wife over our son's ex-girlfriend's pregnancy? Our son, who just turned 16, had a girlfriend. She's 16, almost 17, but they broke up about a month ago. About 3 weeks ago, we were informed by her parents that she is pregnant. She is slightly showing. The dates line up with my son's relationship. My wife and I went into full panic mode. We waited a couple of days before telling our son, who didn't know. He immediately said, "It's not mine. I never slept with her." I didn't believe him, as I know he is active. He did the sensible thing and asked me for protection. However, he kept on saying they never did it. He said he cheated on her. I had a heart-to-heart with him, and he is an absolute craphead, but I began to believe him. He said he always raps and he has asked for restocks. My wife, on the other hand, still didn't believe him. Both families met. My wife started the conversation, just accepting that our son is the father and was trying to figure out a solution, funding, etc. My son spoke up, saying it's not his baby as they never had sex. He was genuinely angry. Then he made a comment that I'm going to rephrase. Apparently, they only ever did a certain act which can't result in a baby, and it was unsatisfactory, so he never went any further with her. An absolute craphead, and we raged at him over it. His ex-girlfriend admits they rarely did it, but explained the event, the when and where, and I will say it was believable too. I know he's a complete liar. I know he is an absolute dog, but I believe him still. My wife, however, is angry with me for playing into his nonsense. She said I'm part of the boy culture. She said children born to teen parents are more likely to be teen parents, and we were both 17 when my wife got pregnant. She said I'm worsening the situation by not living in reality, and she is left to figure out what to do on her own. To her point, I am hands-off on further meetings with the other family. I don't believe we should have those discussions until it's proven he's the dad. Am I the a-hole? Also, this is really ranty. I'm sorry, but I needed to let off some steam. Just to add, her parents don't want to do a paternity test until after the child is born. They said it could harm the baby, but apparently it's harmless, so I don't know. So we cannot get a test done before then. Stop fighting and get a paternity test. Teenagers aren't the brightest when it comes to sex and pregnancy. The paternity testing will clear up the whole who did what, and you can proceed rationally from there. They can get a court order now. There's no harm to the pregnancy. That's just a dodge folks try to use, especially if this is a cash grab from the girlfriend's family. As a former family attorney, I'm fully of the belief that parents should take pregnant minor daughters down to Planned Parenthood and then to counseling, because there's no need for anyone's life to get ruined, because stupid teenagered, but especially an innocent baby. You do nothing until there's a confirmed paternity test. Yeah, what else is there to say? The son sounds like a self-serving little a-hole who is fully capable of lying his butt off to weasel out of accountability, but you're literally not gonna know anything until one of them confesses to lying or paternity is tested. Also, do not sign the birth certificate until a DNA test has been done. By signing the birth certificate, your son is making a legal declaration that he is the father, which in some places is nearly impossible to undo. This, and if he gets anything about going to court, make sure he goes. Or he could be named father by default. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to help my mom and her fiancé with his disabled child? I, 20 male, moved out of my mom's 42 female house a couple of years ago when I went to college. Until 10 months ago, I had my own room there, but her fiancé, 45 male, and his 2 kids, 6 male and 4 female, moved in with her. The 4-year-old has a host of disabilities. I know she has a seizure disorder and a condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, but I believe there's another one involving paralysis or spasms of the stomach or esophagus. My mom took classes for over 2 months before her fiancé moved in, so she would know how to take care of his daughter. Her fiancé's ex is totally out of the picture, so mom decided she would need to step up completely, which I get. I have been back twice since mom's fiancé moved in with his kids. The first time was at Christmas, and I stayed with my grandparents because my old room went to the 4-year-old and there was no spare room for me. My mom was disappointed, but I pointed out it would stop me from getting in the way of their routine too. The second time was late June or early July. I was home for a few weeks and again stayed with my grandparents. Mom offered to buy a pull-out bed for me, but I said I was good with my grandparents. When I was home and whenever I went to mom's, I was asked if I had looked into taking the same classes mom had, or if I'd like them to set me up with them. I said no and asked why I'd need to take them. Mom said she had hoped I would want to help them. She said it would mean I could step in if an emergency came up, and I told mom she'd be better off finding someone professional for that because I was not taking on that responsibility. Her fiancé asked if I'm just never going to stay at the house, and I said yes. I told them I would have zero privacy if I slept there, and it wouldn't benefit any of us. I pointed out how they'd be so busy anyway, that I wouldn't have time with mom that much, and I'd get just as much staying somewhere else and planning ahead of time to visit when she's not super busy. Her fiancé then said it sounded like I didn't want to learn how to care for his daughter and plan to be limitedly involved with him and his kids. I said I'll see them when I see mom, but I won't be signing up for babysitting or future caregiver responsibilities. Mom and I went for a walk together after I said that, and she told me she got it, but that she hoped I'd be willing. She said it's a lot to ask, and I don't even live that close anymore, so it would never be all the time. But she asked me if I was really that unwilling to even give them a few hours off when I would visit. She said it would be so helpful. I told her I would visit and want to spend time with her, but babysitting her future stepkids was not in my plans, and especially not one so medically complex and in need of specific care. She was upset, but let it go. Her fiancé is holding a grudge about it. He brought it up to my grandparents when Christmas was mentioned. They said they got the feeling he was also annoyed they gave me a place to stay during my visits because it gives me an excuse not to get closer to his kids and therefore be more willing to learn how to take care of his daughter. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. This is a heavy ask for anyone, let alone someone who doesn't live there and didn't sign up for it. If they need real respite care, that's what professionals are for, not the college-age son of the fiancé. It's good you were clear now instead of half committing and then resenting it later. There was no way I was going to leave it unclear, because that's how you get guilt-tripped to hell, and calls from classes you never signed up for. I wanted no part of that added drama. And yes, it's a huge ask. Not only because of all the care needs, but in an actual emergency or something, I'd be dropping everything and going to another state to provide a ton of care for a child who will always need a lot of care. Good for you. I am proud you were clear and direct. He wants free babysitting is what it comes down to. Sounds like they are not only wanting a babysitter for a few hours off, but someone who is going to take care of those children indefinitely if anything happens to either of them. That's what I believe the long-term plan is. I don't know if he plans for his son to take over for his daughter when his son's older, but I suspect he's thinking I'd be an even better choice. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not solving the problem by punishing my daughter? I have 4 kids, and one, Nora 16 female, still lives with me. One of my sons, 38 male Jeremy, recently went completely broke. I won't get into details, but it wasn't his fault and just a series of bad luck. He asked to move in with me and I agreed. The problem is that he doesn't get along with Nora. I allowed Nora to take my old car when she got her license. Now Jeremy wants to use the car because he needs it more than a teenager, and Nora will not allow it. Another problem is food. Both my wife and I are vegan, and we don't buy anything non-vegan, though our kids are allowed to buy anything they want with their own money. Nora is not vegan, and she buys and cooks her own meals. My daughter-in-law, who is pregnant, is upset that Nora refuses to share and eats her cravings in front of her. She has asked us to buy non-vegan food as well, which morally I cannot do. Another problem is the room arrangements. My wife and I are on the first floor and everyone else is on the second floor. Nora has a habit of playing violin whenever she wants. It was never a problem for us. Now they have a problem with it and think Nora needs to get used to not playing as much because once the baby arrives, which is very soon, they are worried the baby won't be able to sleep. The last problem is that Nora refuses to let them use her bathroom. There are 2 bathrooms upstairs, and one has always been Nora's, and the other one can be used by anyone. They think their son, my grandson Peter, 17, should share Nora's bathroom. They have been fighting non-stop, and I'm tired of it. They told me to solve the problem, and by solving they meant force Nora to do what they want. And I told them if they bother me again, I will solve the problem by kicking them out. I have a responsibility to my minor child, but I don't have a responsibility to them. Now they think I'm an a-hole. How many people moved in? Your son, his wife, their son, a baby on the way? Yes, you can help your son out temporarily, but Nora is still a minor child living in the family home. Your son doesn't get to ask for help and then demand everything suit him. The only reasonable request here would be asking Nora to have some quiet hours with the violin, perhaps midnight to 8 a.m. or something like that. Everything else is unreasonable. Jeremy sounds like a problem. You give him an inch and he wants a mile. He moved in with you. Now he wants your car. He wants his sister to buy him and his wife food and give up her space. He is such a greedy a-hole. I understand that you let him move in because he is your son, but he's a horrible person. Why is Jeremy such a screw-up? Like the financial issue can be overlooked, but why is he an a-hole? What went wrong with his upbringing? My wife. She thought Jeremy was the most special boy on earth. She did everything for him, even his chores. Out of all my kids, he is the only one who didn't become successful. I mean, yeah, going broke wasn't his fault, but the fact that he didn't have a very good job and doesn't have many skills also contributed to this situation.